Matt and Greg used to interview movie stars, but now they're doing a podcast.
Hey, welcome. It's another show. It's episode 3.
We're getting better every episode, I think. Or you're getting better, I'm getting worse. What do you think?
Or flip that.
Okay, flip that. Maybe
Works either way.
Works either way. What works with this show?
So this is True Romance Part 2. I should say I'm Matt Levitz.
I'm Greg Srizavasti. And we used to interview movie stars in the 1990s.
We did. You know, I've heard there's even a song about it.
That's very cool. We should put it in the opening.
We should get that song.
Okay, we will.
I'll call Venice.
Okay, good.
So, again, this is True Romance Part 2. Today, we are going to hear from Michael Rappaport, Christopher Walken, Quentin Tarantino, who did not direct this movie. He was only the writer. And finally, Christian Slater.
The star of the film.
Yep. We do want to warn you guys again. We did this last time, but it bears repeating. There is language. Bad language. I mean, I guess every episode has language.
Right. This one has NSFW.
Yeah,
language.
That would be English.
Yes.
Yes, all episodes are in the English language.
English language. And this one
But this one has some swear words.
A couple here.
So be careful if there are young ears around. So we're going to get right to it. On our part 2s, we're not going to do junket talk. We're going to jump right in. And the first interview is Michael Rappaport.
There's really nothing else to say about Michael Rappaport. At this point, he was trying to get his feet wet in the industry. Obviously, he made a minor splash in 1992 with Zebrahead. That was an indie film which received a little bit of run for his career.
Yeah.
And then after that, he went on to do Poetic Justice, Point of No Return. 1993 was a big year because along with True Romance, the John Cusack film Money for Nothing was about to be released as well in the same year. So 93 was a very, very good year for Rappaport. I guess I'm not going to do any spoilers as far as the interviews, but he's had a really solid career since True Romance.
As a character actor. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can't think of any leads that he's had.
And now he does a lot of stuff for sports because I'm kind of a sports guy. So he's in the sports arena where he does commenting and.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I see him every now and then on sitcoms. He'll show up, and it's always nice to see him.
Yeah, he's had a solid career. He's had and he was also in Copland. He was great in Copland. But anyways, we're here. We're kicking it off. Here is our interview with Michael Rappaport.
You say our interview. I don't know whether we even opened our mouths.
Here is the interview with Michael. The interview with Michael Rappaport.
Yes, and FYI, not the biggest fan of roller coasters.
So after playing this role, I guess you'll never work in this town again.
Never. No, I know. Never.
Was it fun to kind of, or was it like, did reality intrude in this part in terms of the experiences you've had up until now?
Absolutely. I think, the character, he like that audition scene when he comes in there, that woman was a little quick with me, but I've been in a lot worse than that. So I could relate to it, as I'm sure any actor could. Anyone could. They've been in that kind of thing. And also, the thing that was really special to me about the part was the scene where he gets the part on T.J. Hooker. Because I can relate to that strongly because the first job I ever got was a small part on the show China Beach. And when I got that, it meant so much to me, and I cried. I was so happy. I was like, got the part in China Beach, Dad, I got the part. It was the same thing. And, I wanted to show that. And because anybody can relate to that. Actors, anybody. But, I was portraying an actor, but anybody in any line of work, whether you're a businessman, a dentist or anything, everybody has wanted something, a job. And hopefully everybody has, had experience where they gotten it. So I wanted to show that.
Did you go back and watch some old T.J. Hooker episodes together?
I read the scripts, but I was really just concentrating on, remembering how I felt when I got the, when I got the part, because it was special, to me.
As an actor, you want to do your best, but in that scene, you have to do your work.
Yeah, that was funny.
How easy is that?
That was a little weird because you have to put your ego aside, because you and just go about it in a. because it's weird because I was actually reading a scene that if I was playing, I would do differently. But I had to, it was a little difficult to make sure you know, while I was auditioning for the audition scene, to actually do the bad audition. You know what I'm saying? That was you had to pay attention to what you were doing, whether it was Mike playing Dick or Dick playing the guy on T.J. Hooker. It's like two, things. Yeah, but it was a little strange. We were shooting, and I remember a few times Tony was like, "That's too good. That's too, you would have gotten the part, right there, So, but yeah, it was a little strange doing that."
Excuse me. What's the joke that Dick got the part after being dismissed so quickly from the audition?
Because it looked like he sucked, but he got the part. I don't think anybody thought he was going to get the part. It's like, hey, he's a nice guy and he wanted the part real good, but he was, I went in there, I cursed and, get the fuck up. It was like retarded guy. It was not a good reading, but as we all know, sometimes the wrong people get the parts. But I think Dick deserved it. Dick was a nice guy. Dick, it was a small part, and, that it was nice because somebody like him deserves it because he really had true spirit about it.
Not to mention any names, but have you seen any producers and producers' assistants in real life?
Nothing.
Look at me, Silver Tongue.
Hey, wait a minute, who says they're taking this over?
They know who they're taking it over. If you listen carefully, they say it right there on the screen. I ain't got nothing to do with it. I was just the actor trying to act, get the job.
Did you have to audition for this movie?
Yeah.
And can you tell us about how that went?
I auditioned for a smaller part for one of the gangsters, the younger gangster, and I got that, and I was content. I was happy to do it, because I wanted to be involved with this film. I came back. No, I got a call back from Tony's office, the casting director, saying, Tony wants to have you come in and read for Dick Ritchie, and I was like, oh, cool, and I was like, oh, this is cool, because when I had read the script, I remember, I read, like that part. And I came in with all these ideas, I want to play Dick, and I'm going to do this and da-da-da-da-da. And Tony said, no, just you're Dick. You are, you're Dick. What you are, your essence about, that's Dick. And I really wanted, I said, Tony, don't let me leave without getting this right. And he, they had set up a special session for me on a Saturday because they needed to cast it or whatever. And I worked with him like 2 hours on all the scenes, and we did it over and over until we got every single one right. Because I think Tony they wanted to cast the part, but I think Tony, he wanted me to get the part, and I really wanted to get the part. And him and the casting directors, they were extremely helpful. And Tony's good people, and he's good like that, and he's real cool to work with and real easy to work with, and it started off in that casting session. I knew he was going to be easy. He made me feel comfortable, and he treated me with a lot of respect, and I appreciate it. He did that.
What's it like to have Brad Pitt for a roommate?
Everybody asked for that. It was, in that he was, you saw the guy was a little whacked out. Brad's cool though, real cool. And I was extremely impressed with him because, at this point, he, in my opinion, he's got a lot of shit going on. He's like, a sex symbol. He's been put in that position, but he's also, a successful actor, and he's got it going on. And but he doesn't have any of that image stuff, and he doesn't come across as like this, movie star kid. He's an actor, and he really, really works hard at what he does, and I learned from watching him because he, because of this movie, I was really excited to be a part of it, and I was always paying attention a lot of times to, who was on the set and, what was going on, because I was in awe of it in a way. And when Brad came, I saw, he would go off by himself. It was time to work, it would be time to work. And I got caught up sometimes in, being in True Romance because it was such exciting for me. And, I learned from him. And it was something I always remembered. No matter what's going on, what kind of chaos or how big of the thing, you have to focus and you have to concentrate and you have to, take care of your business no matter what.
You're on about the chaos. How about the shootout at the end?
Zizou. That was nuts. That was a pain. It was crazy, man. It was just the way it looked, was the way it was shooting, and it was yelling, and the feathers, and the blood, and the squibs, and it was like, it would be one person walks in, and then you see them walking away all shot up and stuff like that. It was funny, and we'd go to lunch with feathers all over us, and blood, and it was nuts. And it was fun, but
Over how many days?
I think it was a week. Yeah, it might have been 5 days. 5 days, something like that. Might be wrong, but it was a while. It was a little bit, some time.
How do you feel about the way the violence is portrayed in film?
I think the violence is it doesn't. I must say the scene with Patricia and James Gandolfini, the kid Virgil, when she gets beat up, that's heavy, man. It's heavy. I don't know, because it's a girl who's receiving the violence, or because it's just graphic, and the way the character Virgil, the kid James Gandolfini, I mean, he he's chills, man. He's like he was doing most of it with a smile on his face, man, and hitting her, and he was such a big guy and she's so little, and it was it was a little disturbing. I saw the film again last night. It was the first time I saw the final cut, and it was a little disturbing, but violence is disturbing. That's the reality of it. And the funny thing about it is the way that all these characters, these crazy characters who are really dark, they all seem to, you don't dislike any of them, except for maybe him, that guy Virgil. But like Christopher Walken character, he's an animal, but you still like the character because it's just, that's what Quentin Tarantino's writing does.
Did you lose any scenes in seeing the final cut? Did you see anything missing that you had done that you wish could have been on screen?
There was a scene that we didn't get to shoot because of time and money or whatever. That when I was leaving the room, I ran out, and the gangster who was downstairs, I'm running down the hotel room, and I'm at the elevator, and I'm crying and all that stuff, and the gangster comes with a big gun, and I'm like, I'm sorry, God, I'm sorry I ever got myself into this, and I apologize, and and I'm sorry, and I'll never do anything wrong again, and and just please, if you give me one more chance, I just want to make it to T.J. Hooker. And he goes, okay, go ahead. That didn't get in. We didn't get to shoot that. I really wanted to do that. That's a funny scene. That would have been. It would have been even more like, oh my, because you think, oh, they're gonna shoot Dick, and then right when you think it's over, he goes T.J. Hooker, and this gangster goes, okay, go ahead. He lets me go after killing everybody else. I know, it's funny. Tell him to reshoot it, man, because we didn't get to do it. I wish we could have done that, but because that was really funny. But that's the breaks. We didn't get to do that stuff. But there was a few little moments like I cut away and stuff like that. But pretty much everything I wanted to be in the movie was in it. I was real happy that I'm in this movie so much, because I'm like, I'm in a movie with all these people. I'm honored to be in a movie with these people, with Christopher Walken and Gary Oldman and Patricia and Christian, Val Kilmer, and the whole list of them. These are people who I truly admire and respect, and I always play around my friends and I quote Christopher Walken movies all the time. Now I'm going to quote a movie that he's in and I'm in. That's cool to me. Because before I was acting, I was a fan. And I still am a fan. So yeah, it was.
What made you decide to be an actor?
Well, I got into acting through stand-up comedy. What made me decide to do stand-up comedy is that I wanted to play basketball, and that didn't happen. So I wound up, always had a big mouth.
Wait a minute. If not basketball, stand-up comedy, it seems.
Well, yeah, well, if not
on the court?
That's why I'm not, that's why I'm doing this, and I'm not playing in some kind of all-star game. Yeah, I was all right, I was all right, but I never was as good as I wanted to be. But I had a lot of fun with it. I played a lot.
Where did the comedy come from, man?
Well, that was a school thing. You see, I was always, in trouble in school for mouthing off. Not bad, but I was always able to. At the time, I wasn't aware of it, but to just take the attention off the teacher and bring it to myself by, being class clown or whatever the hell, or a class pain in the ass, as they would probably like to call it. I'll call it clown. But the comedy got me into acting because I got called in for an audition for a TV pilot. It was a serious dramedy. And after I left that experience, I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to act. And I was fortunate because I really, really loved it, and I started having success at it. So
No more stand-up?
I've retired. I kind of retired when I got this movie, just because I worked for like 2.5 months, and then honestly, I had gotten sick from that roller coaster thing. It really made me sick. And then I went to New York, and then I said, I never got back into it. And now I'm still worrying about, dealing with casting directors and all that stuff.
So how
How
many
many
days on
times
the
on
roller
the roller
coaster?
coaster? Yeah.
I went 4 times. Out of all the the other people, Christian and them, they were going on it at their convenience. They were going on it for fun. But I went 2 times the first day, and out of all the scenes in the damn movie, that was the only scene we had to reshoot. We had to go back and reshoot the roller coaster scene. So the first time I did it, I was just sick and terrified, and I really, honestly, I thought that I was gonna die. I swear, I thought I was gonna die, because I thought the damn thing was gonna fall off, and I'd never been on one of those things. But the second time I came back, because I had gotten time to prepare, I went to a doctor, and I had gotten some motion sickness stuff, so I was so high the second time I went from the drugs they gave me. I was like, yay! But if you look at the movie closely, there's shots of the first day where I'm like in the back, and almost like, and there's shots of the second time where I'm just smiling because I didn't even have any idea. But I picked that up. But it was funny because Tony, after we finished shooting, Tony sent they were having really a lot of fun with me being sick the first day. They were taking pictures of me and stuff. They sent me a picture of myself. Like, it was all thrown up and all that stuff, and it says, "Just one more time, Mike, please," because they kept asking me, "You have to go in it one more time."
So Bronson didn't get sick and you did?
Did he tell you he didn't get sick? He got sick. He got sick. He didn't think he was going to get sick or whatever. He got sick. I think he adjusted to it, but everyone, even Christian and them, had a little bit too much. But I couldn't believe Christian and Patricia were writing it like during rehearsals and, for fun. I couldn't believe it. And extras, oh my goodness, they were going on so much.
People actually write those for fun.
I know. I don't know. I can't understand. I have never felt like I was going to die before. I swear, I thought I was going to die. We got off it the first time I went on, I could not speak. Because I was sitting right next to Patricia. She was like, "You all right, Michael?" I couldn't speak.
They didn't do it at a slower speed for you guys?
No. Only thing we got to do, on the way up, like for a few takes, like because there's that whole dialogue between. On the way up, they would stop it and we could walk down, and even that was disgusting. The walk down is like there was cows below. It was just terrible, man. It was terrible. I couldn't believe people actually like that stuff. I'm not a roller coaster kind of person.
Talking about what you learned from Brad Pitt, what did you learn from watching Christian? Working with Christian.
Christian, the thing that I got from Christian seems like he's real. He's not like he doesn't get so he's not like a method kind of actor where he goes off, he makes this noise. He'll be talking to you and they'll say action, and the next thing you know he'll turn it on. Like that scene in the elevator, it was really interesting because he kept doing it at the same intensity, but he just, when they'd say cut, he'd just break out of it. That was real. It was interesting because and Bronson was really trying to be worked up because he needed to be. And Christian was almost like he just go on and off. It was cool because it was like all these different kind of actors you're working with, and it was all these different styles of acting. But it was interesting to look at them. Patricia has her way, Bronson had his way, and and then. Like I said, I'd come on the set when Christopher Walken was working, and he has his very own way. And Dennis Hopper and Gary Oldman and everybody. It was interesting, just to see how everybody would approach it, and with their wardrobe, and Val Kilmer when he came, they were doing hair tests and all that stuff. He was like in his trailer singing, and it was.
So how would you describe your approach? More in the laid-back category? Or?
No, I'm definitely, I don't, everybody asks me that because everybody thinks I'm so, off the cuff. My approach is just to go from my heart and, and to go make it personal. Because my favorite actor, John Turturro, he has a quote that I got that I think is a real good quote. If it's not personal, it can never be original. And I believe that. So I just try to, I just go from my heart and what I feel, and just, keep it there, because I know if I keep it like that, I can't go wrong. Because if it's from my heart, you know, it can't go wrong. If it, you know, it's, for anybody, in anything you do, if you you know, you go from your heart, you speak from your heart, and you work from your heart, whether you're a painter or whatever, you know, you'll be good. You do it, you know, you play basketball, if you play with a lot of heart, or fight or anything, you can't go wrong. So I just do that, and try not to think about it too much.
Like Dick in the movie, have you done the LA thing, come here and lived in an apartment, had to share an apartment to...
I've never had to share one.
Still try and get roles.
Oh yeah, I'm still trying to get roles, man. You know, I'm still, you know, I'm still in that circle, you know, where I have to go in and audition and...
But I mean, you moved to LA specifically rather than stay home.
Yeah. I never had a roommate, but I stayed in a lovely little Hollywood little dump, you know, it was this, you know, looting and all that nice Hollywood stuff and fires and, you know, National Guardsmen on my block and, you know, broken windows and helicopters. It was real cute. This movie helped me move out of that area also. Because I was it was the zoo in Hollywood. Yeah, but, you know, but I'm not at a point where, you know, people are knocking down my door saying, you know, we want you to be in our movie and here's that amount of money. Can you do it, please? You know, I have a lot of, people give me a lot of respect and, you know, I have, you know, a certain amount of credits or whatever, but I'm still, you know, I still struggle, you know. I can still lose parts to models or whatever the hell they do, you know what I'm saying? I'm not like a name. And even then, you know, after this movie, they're always, you know, they're always breaking your balls, one level or other. You know, I have the same agent, you know, as Jack Nicholson, and they tell me instead of breaking Jack's balls about something, if they're gonna break his chops, they're gonna cut me up and chop me up and serve me for lunch. You know, so it never gets easy. But I guess if it becomes too easy, then it becomes boring. But I'm not saying I like it to be that hard, but you know what I'm saying.
Do you feel in this business that talent is often judged but rarely chosen?
Say it again?
Do you feel that talent is often judged but rarely chosen?
A lot of times it is, I think. You know, yeah, you know, fortunately for me, my circumstances and the situation I've been in, you know, I've gotten a lot of the stuff that I've really wanted to, and I've had my experiences where, you know, I've lost parts to people who, you know, it's one thing if you lose a part to somebody who's, you know, good, you know, you're just like, damn, I lost the part, but, you know, I'm glad that he got it because I'm gonna still want to go see it. But sometimes that ain't the case, but that's the nature of the business, you know.
One more question.
Got Handgun coming up?
Yeah, that's coming up. It's a small film with Seymour Cassel. But I got another film coming out September 10th called Money for Nothing with John Cusack and Michael Madsen, Debbie Mazar, directed by this guy Ramon Menendez, who did Stand and Deliver. It's coming out the same day as this, so, you know, I'm like...
And that's where the tape ended, right in the middle of his sentence. Again, dealing with Cassette, which is... Well, not again. I guess we talked about that on the last episode. But, you know, it happens sometimes. He was just about done. He was on the last question, and suddenly your tape pops up, and it's just not enough time to flip it over and get the rest, because there is no rest. But that was it. He was done. I mean, that was 20 minutes of good stuff.
My favorites from the Rapport interview was when he was talking about how John Turturro was a huge influence in his life. And it's a simple piece of advice, just when you're making a film or following your dreams, just go from the heart. So I thought that was a really nice piece.
I think that's terrible advice.
Terrible. Don't ever go for your...
Never go from the heart.
From the head. The head is better.
No,
the mind.
Especially in your love life. Never go from the heart.
My facts of life thing is screwed.
You will mess your life up so badly.
Not very good.
Don't go from the heart.
Don't go from the heart. Okay. And then I also enjoyed I like the fact that True Romance, he was honest that the money he made from True Romance helped him move from a ratty apartment in Hollywood to a better place. That was right. Also another cool thing. And the one thing I really wanted to see was that T.J. Hooker scene where his character gets saved. That would have been a great deleted scene in True Romance if it was ever shot.
I wonder if it's on the DVD.
I don't think so. I have the DVD. Yeah. I should check. I don't think they ever shot it. So those are my...
That makes it harder.
That's my takeaway from I'm Not Rappaport.
Yeah,
Someone
it's
had to
very,
say-
very, very hard to put deleted scenes onto the DVD that haven't been shot.
You're very logical, sir. But now we're
That's why I'm making the big bucks.
Who is next?
Next up, Christopher Walken. Got a 30-minute interview with him. Got some surprising stories about his early history in Hollywood. Or at least to me, I actually had no idea he'd started as young as he did.
Okay, little teaser for that. Nice teaser. I am going to give a spoiler, which you're going to realize is not really a spoiler.
All right.
There is a part in the interview, listeners, just go, when he says the name Aldo Ray, wait for it, because as soon as he says Aldo Ray, this is a very big memory in my mind. Me and Ron Brewington actually started laughing in front of Chris Walken, and you're going to notice maybe a couple second pause. That's because Walken looked at both of us dead-eyed. I don't even know if it was a stare of intimidation, but it's Chris Walken. So when Chris Walken looks at you straight in the eyes,
It's like that scene in Annie Hall, right?
Right. The thing about driving stuff.
Yeah. As he's just staring at him creepily.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I was creeped out. I was intimidated. I could not say, and that's probably why I didn't say anything for the rest of the True Romance chunk at all. I was just intimidated.
Sure. Well, we'll go with that.
We'll go with that. But that's a little tidbit before we get to Chris Walken.
The dialogue in this movie is not only great, but there's a lot of lines, as Dennis was talking about. Did you almost feel like it was a theatricals?
Yes, very much. Yeah, I've done a lot of plays, and working on it was like studying for a play.
Dennis said you described it as the interaction as a dance between the two of you.
Well, I do. I think actors, when they work well together. I used to be a dancer, so I just think that way. But another dancer can make you dance better than you do, you know. And it takes two to tango and all that.
Do you dance still at all?
You never forget how to dance.
I've seen a lot of your stage work, and I enjoy it tremendously, and I wonder whether you prefer performing before an audience where you get that immediate feedback rather than before a crew.
Well, it is a lot of fun to be on stage and get the immediate response. But there's a delayed reaction in movies, which is also very nice. That a year after you've done it, you're performing, in 1,500 theaters across the United States 6 times a day. And people are coming up to you and saying, I saw you in that. And that's very nice, too. Your feeling is, I haven't done anything, but it's because you did it a year ago. So it's a kind of delayed pleasure thing.
What is it that gets you out of bed in the morning to go off and do a film these days? Because you've done so much. Can anybody offer you anything different these days?
Sure. I love to work, and I just keep working. I do it, of course, for money, but mostly I do it for just to do it and to have, as you say, a place to go every day.
So
having a job is really important.
So outside the money in the job, what was it about this script that...
Well, this was a very good one.
And is that unusual these days, you feel?
Well, I mean, good parts hard to come by, sure. I've had some. This was one of them.
This guy is kind of a quintessential bad guy. The visions of The Godfather dance through your head. How did you create this?
No, he's a big factor in it, and one that I asked my agent about when we said, but this guy's Sicilian. He has to be Sicilian, otherwise the whole thing that the guy says to him doesn't work. And if he's not believable as Sicilian, I said, people are going to say, well, why didn't they get another actor? I'm so northern, And so we dyed my hair dark.
And you look Sicilian.
You projected a Sicilian attitude.
Did you?
Yeah, well, I don't know any gangsters. I'm not sure that gangsters actually act like gangsters. But I did think that was, if they don't think you're Sicilian, it's not going to work.
Do you know any people like this?
No.
We understand the lines were scripted, but you had a chance to ad-lib a little bit in there.
Not too much. It was really, it was basically I talk, and it was a lot. Movies, the dialogue's very spare usually. My stuff was like 4 pages. And then I would give him a cigarette, and he talks for so many pages. And then really the scene's over. We have a bit of a chuckle,
Was that funny on the page, or did you guys make it that way?
Well, the words were all on the page. Sure, everything.
But in terms of the direction of laughing, etc.
Well, in fact, that happened because he did his speech and the camera was on him, and he did crack me up. He really did. And then when the camera was on me, he still cracked me up. That's how that happened.
How many takes?
It was we did the scene very quickly, all lighting and everything, 2 days.
Some people suggest that playing the darker characters is much more enjoyable for an actor. That what we view as being maybe evil or bad to them is sort of perfectly normal. So it's fun to get inside someone like that. Is that how it's with you?
In movies, you can be awful, and it's a movie. There's hardly anything in life that you can't really be awful and have it, be a movie.
No, but some people,
unless you're in one.
No, but some people suggest that playing the goodie is like it's a bit to play the good guy, but to really sort of sink your teeth into playing the bad guy, evil guy, awful guy.
Yeah, they say that. I've played other kinds of people too. I've played nice people. I enjoyed that too.
But not as much.
Sure. Yeah, actually.
How do you feel about the violence in this film, and the fact that, even in that, how that scene is going to end, but...
Well, you don't really.
Well, I mean, you're guessing.
As a matter of fact, well, you do if you read the script, but that whole aspect of it again, the movie is about violent things. I don't know how you'd express that without it. Also, I think that you have to be careful with children with these things. But most of the adults I know, they know they're sitting in a movie. There's no confusion with life and movies. Not to me, anyway. I don't think I ever got that mixed up. I never thought when I was watching The Wild Bunch that I was in watching anything but a movie. It's very, what movies have these people in Bosnia been watching? Oh, what's Saddam Hussein's favorite movie? I'd like to know. No, it's probably Snow White or something.
The R version.
You're involved in Wayne's World too, and it seems like recently you've been seeing you doing more comedy, and you're so wonderful at it. I've really enjoyed Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, Saturday Night Live kind of helped me in that way.
So is this something that you're actively pursuing more, and do you have?
No, it's just when people they give you jobs. I think in somewhere, when I was in the theater, I almost always played comedy. When I was younger, I was in musicals before that, and then when I got in the movies, I got into this kind of dark thing. But I think it's just when you do something and it's effective, then you just get asked to do it again. Movies are expensive. People, they want you to do what you do, you know. And they're more likely to ask you to do the same thing again than they are to ask you to do something you never did. Because if you don't, you know, it's fairly expensive.
So it's
Do you
got the
feel
dark
you're-
guy.
Can't make too many mistakes.
Do you feel that you're able to give those people with the money their money's worth with you in a comedic role?
Yeah, you know, I have, and I can play those things, sure. Sure, I'm not as apt to be asked to play those things as the things that I'm better known for. But I understand that.
What do you do in Wayne's World 2?
I play a record executive.
Is it a sort of a comedic heavy role, kind of like Batman Returns?
It's hard to say, but no, there are no bad guys in this movie. And, you know, it's fun.
If you could create a character, write a part for yourself, what would it be like? Something you haven't done possibly before.
I've never played anybody like myself. Never. Whatever that is.
No, but I'm saying if you could write a part for yourself, would it be a tough guy, a family man, or you know?
Write a part? No, I'd have somebody else write it, and it'd be terrific. I'd get an Oscar.
You have one. You have one.
Get another one. And I'd make a ton of money, and everybody would see it, and they would love me.
You've referred to your start on the stage with musicals, but how does somebody it looks like they're heading for, I don't know, teaching career or something? You were studying English?
When I was in school, yeah, I was.
So how did you get from that to dance to...
Well, I had been in musicals when I was a kid. I started that way, and you know, I did that, and then I started to think about not wanting to do that all my life. So I started to think about, you know, a job. But I never took it that seriously. I never really seriously thought of getting out of show business. Didn't know where I was going, but...
I mean, was the parental thing of, yeah, if you're going to get a job, get a job, not this?
Well, you see, my parents, my brothers and I were performers when we were kids, so there was never that don't go into show business aspect, because I already was in show business. In a way, I always wished that I could have come to New York, you know, and gotten an apartment and a girlfriend and a cat, and got my first job in the theater, and, you know, and strike out as an actor, and, you know. But I was already in show business.
Did you have any particular heroes when you were growing up? Like, who was your heroes when you were like ages, like 12 years old or so? Someone you said, I want to be like him.
I used to go, when I went to the movies, I almost always went to, Westerns, or when I was growing up, war movies were very big. You know, it was after Korea, and you know, the Bridge at Toko-Ri and the Sands of Iwo Jima, and a lot of those movies with Aldo Ray, you know. And I never went, you know, I never went to quality movies. I went to these, you know, boom! And that was the thing, the kids, my friends and I, we'd go see the movie, and then we'd go out and we'd just do the movie, play it out, you know, I'll be, you know.
As time goes on, does acting get easier for you?
Yes. You just sort of get the knack.
Were you putting more angst into it in the beginning, do you think?
Yes. My father gave me one of the best acting tips I ever had. He came back to see me after a play, and he said, "Don't work so hard."
Were your parents real boosters of your career?
Yeah, sure, they're fine.
Do you look back on your years as a performing child fondly, or do you?
Yeah, I do. It was a real education, sure. couldn't have gotten that education any other way. It's better than, you know, I never went to Harvard, but I'm sure it's as good.
Because so many times people say, "Oh, I think I miss playing with my friends or doing."
Nah. I did such interesting things when I was growing up. I mean, I worked with Jerry Lewis when I was 10. That's worth 2 semesters.
Doing what?
In something.
Huh? No, I did. I used to be on the Ernie Kovacs show.
Doing.
Kids were used a lot in those days just as furniture, you know. There were 90 live TV shows every week out of New York, live. They just used kids. Sticks them over here, sticks them over here.
So did you work with Jack Lemmon when he was doing his Nairobi bit for Kovacs?
I do remember the Nairobi thing, but that was Jack Lemmon?
Jack Lemmon was one of the guys.
Oh, I never knew that. Really?
Yeah.
And for Lewis.
Ernie Kovacs. Remember, I was in a scene with him once where he was sitting reading a newspaper in a living room. and you know, I was his kid and I was playing with a ball or something. And the walls of the room went like this. And a big train came through. You know, he had things like that on his show in those days. I don't know how they did that. You know, small budgets.
When you opened the book, Gone with the Wind, or something, the wind would blow it.
That's right.
Looking back, did the Academy Award change anything? Was it like a high point, or just, I mean, does it dim pretty quickly in your memory?
No. No, that was great.
But I mean, did it change your...
Sure.
How?
Oh, well, I said to my wife when I had it in my hand, I said, "This is a house." And it was. You know, that's among other things.
Let's just go back to this Jerry Lewis thing. What did you do with Jerry Lewis?
Jerry Lewis, we used to do the Colgate Comedy Hour, you know, and again, they had kids. I didn't, you know, we didn't have script conferences, but I was around him. You know, these people, it was fascinating. They were huge stars. Really. Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis, that boom.
Was there ever a sense of that to you, that, you know, hey, gosh, I'm actually on the same
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. These guys were big.
Would you interface with them? Would you talk with them?
No.
How about now? Have you ever...
I love Jerry Lewis.
No, but I mean, do you talk to, does he, you know, sometimes these people don't even know that it might have been you.
Oh, I'm sure, you know, how many millions of people he's worked with?
How many of them won an Academy Award?
When you were performing as a child, did any of these big stars ever maybe take you under their wing, or perhaps give you some nugget of advice that you've carried with you through your career?
No. But I did have the advantage of standing there and watching. Interesting to watch people work.
Any desire to direct
Sure.
theater, film?
Yeah, I'd love to direct a movie or something.
Would you consider actively pursuing that? I mean, if given the chance.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how you go about it. But I would, you know. Maybe something for HBO or something like that.
Would you be willing to undertake all the work and
I'd be good with actors.
that's involved?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a very big job. Yeah, I would be willing to do that. It's like being a general. You have to have your eye on everything.
How would you be with the actors?
I'd be very good.
In what way?
I just get along with them, you know.
How is Tony as a director?
It's terrific.
But from your perspective, Quentin has suddenly gotten so hot in Hollywood. What is it that he's getting back on those pages?
Well, he has a real originality, I think. His stuff is so not only good, but different. That's one of the things about movies, I think, that people go for. You know, show me something I didn't see before. You know, Jurassic Park. You know. See those dinosaurs. Never saw that. And if you know, sometimes you see that with, you know, I watch actors. First time you see Gary Oldman, you think, wow, it's, you know, it's like something. It's like the first, you know, it's like amazing.
And when you pick up that script and see that dialogue, you are already seeing the scene in your head? I mean...
In a way, you know, it's always going to be different than you thought, and it should be. You know, you can't arrive too sure, because you're bound to get your mind changed.
Did you finish recently A Business Affair?
Right.
What is that?
That's a comedy type of romantic movie.
Can you tell me a little about your character?
Yeah, I play an American publisher who lives in London. And it's a kind of, it's a romantic thing. It's me and Jonathan Pryce.
The romantic thing? I couldn't resist, I'm sorry.
and a French actress named Carole Bouquet, and I kind of, I publish his work, and I kind of try to take his wife away, and he takes her back. You know.
That's the romantic.
That's the romantic.
You and he do seem like a type, though, especially with your stage background and everything. Both great stage actors.
Jonathan, yeah, I love him acting.
So is it easier to do comedy then? I mean, sort of like taking a vacation when you do a Wayne's World or something? Or?
Yeah, I don't really. I work on everything pretty much the same. I don't think of the villainous parts I play as villainous. I don't think of the comedies as comedies. I just sort of, if the script is good, it takes care of a lot for you. You know, there's one thing about Quentin's lines. In a way, all you have to do is say them. There's a lot of them. They're intelligent. And if you can just say them clearly, it takes care of a lot.
Of course, in a comedy, if the audience isn't laughing when you're sitting in the theater, I mean, that's the kind of response that...
Absolutely. And in the movies, too, when people laugh there, or in the dailies or whatever, it doesn't mean they're going to laugh in the... As a matter of fact, there's a little bit of... You know, if you go to dailies and everybody's going, see, I get nervous.
So did you see the films with the regular folks?
Yes. I mean, I saw True Romance about 6 weeks ago in New York at a screening with about 10 people there. And I liked it a lot. And then they asked me yesterday if I wanted to see it again at one of those. And I told them I wanted to get a ticket and go in when it opened. It's much more interesting, really.
How are you?
When I saw Batman at a, I just got a ticket and went in, and it was really, I felt I really saw it.
How are you at looking at yourself?
Good. I'm pretty cold.
You don't have to look at it 3 times.
Sometimes when I see things I don't like, I see things I like. I don't get upset. Some people don't react well, but I just hope they take out the stuff I don't like. And in fact, they usually do,
But you don't have to look at a movie like 3, 4, 5 times before you can get that.
I don't think I've ever seen anything I did more than once, twice, something like that.
What movie do you recall enjoying the most of yours that you saw?
There isn't, I mean, I hope I'm yet to make that one. But there were movies that were done quickly and had a kind of unexpected punch to them, which which is great. You do it quickly, and you didn't know what you were getting into. You just got into it, and it had a wallop, like The King of New York. It's a very interesting movie, and the actors who came out of it.
You told us about the kinds of movies that you like to watch in the theater as a kid. What sorts of movies or perhaps genres do you enjoy just sitting and watching for pleasure?
Now I almost always watch movies to see other actors. That's really the reason I go to movies. I go to see actors.
Are you able to?
When I was a kid, I went to see, as I said, I went to these, I'm I'm more scientific about watching movies now.
It's probably the director coming up in it.
Yeah, or just, it's my business, really.
Are you ever able to just sit and get completely engrossed in a movie as perhaps any other viewer would? I understand what you're saying because I can't listen to radio, for example, without having to pick it apart. But do you ever find yourself completely swept up in the storytelling where you feel like you're not analyzing it?
Sure. Yeah, most of the time. There's always that little part of you, though, that's going, that's interesting. See, I'm going to steal that. I've done a lot of things that I took from other actors.
Do you get recognized now wherever you go? I mean, how do fans treat you? Do they? Can you go anywhere you want, or I mean?
Sure. No, I get recognized sometimes, and other times I don't. It's unexpected.
You probably tell what movie they recognize you from as they approach you as well, I would think.
Yeah, and also some things that happen to me sometimes is that a person will know me from the movies, but think that they know me from something else.
School. You went to school with you.
No, I've had all sorts of things happen.
Such as?
People, they went to school with me, or that I go to a certain restaurant. What happened to me in New York a while ago was I was in the Village, and about 6 guys, very tough-looking guys, came and they went like this, and one of them said, "Hey, how you been?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm fine." I said, "You're all right." "Thank you." And it turned out that we had been cellmates together in, Attica or something. I haven't seen you. You look, you put on some weight. You look good. And I said, "Hey, it's great to see you, and the best of luck, and we keep in touch." Yeah, you got the wrong guy.
I talked to people who've actually had to sign autographs as somebody else because people have really thought that they were another actor completely and wouldn't leave.
That can happen.
Signed that as that person.
Sure. Yeah. Oh yeah, that happens to me.
Who do they suggest that you are?
Nowadays, very often I'm Willem Dafoe.
Okay.
It depends on how thin I am.
As long as it's not William Shatner.
It was Michael Moriarty for a long time.
We just think that, the more people they think you are, the more they think that that other person is Christopher Walken. So,
I wonder if that happens to them, though.
You were on earlier about you just it's good to get out and work, but a lot of roles you've done have just really been sort of cameos. This one is sort of a longer cameo than most. I remember Mistress. You were in that rooftop scene. What makes you say yes to say something like that?
Well, the movie, I've known Barry Primus since I was about 12, and a lot of the other people, and actually I was on a holiday with Barry and some other people and his family, and I was really bored. And I'd just sit there, and he used to walk by and on the beach, and I can't stand being on the beach. And he said, "What's the matter? I just think there's nothing to do. I want to go home." He said, "Here, read this." And that was that.
Oh. Trapped you, huh?
Was there a point in your career where you resigned yourself to being one of the great character actors, but not stepping out front like Kevin or Clint or the rest of the group on a...
I never was that, and I never entertained those thoughts, to tell you the truth.
Why? You just...
I never thought that was what I was for, you know. I'm so amazed at actually being, my age and having, become an actor in the first place, and to be working and, all that. It's not what I expected, so.
What did you expect initially? Did you think that maybe you'd be in musicals for the rest of your life? Or?
No, I thought I might, just be out there in the world somewhere and, just doing a job.
We have time for one last question.
You've been pretty busy. There's, I think, about 4 projects I've seen at least that you've got coming up. Are you now taking a break, or is there something else you're about to plunge into?
I'm supposed to do this movie about angels pretty much right after.
What's that called?
It's called, I thought I said it in another interview. This one.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a picture called Seraph, and it's about angels. It's looking forward to it.
What do you play?
I play Gabriel.
Trumpet and all?
Are you Sicilian?
Wings? Yeah.
It's hard to figure out. I'm trying to figure this out.
Thank you.
Where did they come from?
Real quick, you just say hello and goodbye as if responding to someone on the phone. Just say hello and goodbye.
Hello?
And
Goodbye? What are you going to put in the middle?
Okay, Chris Walken, that interview's finished. I have a couple of takeaways from the interview.
By all means.
By all means, I will go first, again, since I am selfish. My favorite Chris Walken quote from the interview is, quote unquote, "It takes 2 to tango," and all that. I just thought that was a memorable thing.
And you know what? Anytime you say it's going to be a quote, it's very important to say quote unquote.
Sorry, I won't say quote. I'll do the little thing with my fingers.
Yeah, do the finger thing.
That'll be even better.
That's awesome for podcasts. That's awesome. A much better idea.
And then the other quote I love from Walken, Mr. Levitz.
Yes.
I can't stand being on the beach. Two gems from Mr. Walken.
We have that in common.
Oh, you don't like the beach?
I don't like the beach.
I like the beach.
Okay.
But you err on the side of Chris Walken, Matt Levitz.
You know what? I mean, it's me and Chris down in the city while the rest of you guys are at the beach.
There you go.
Story of my life.
What are your takeaways?
Well, I did want to point out a couple of things. One, right at the end, he was talking about playing Gabriel in a movie that he calls Seraph. That film came out 2 years later in 1995, and they had changed the name. It was now called The Prophecy.
Right, The Prophecy.
So if you've seen The Prophecy, that's what he was talking about, even though it wasn't called that at the time. The other thing I wanted to point out, you heard me right at the end. I asked him to say hello and goodbye as if he was talking to someone on the phone. That's because at the time we had a client who was doing exactly that. He was editing this interview as if the person was talking to him on the phone. So he needed a hello and a goodbye to edit into that conversation. And when they did it naturally, when they walked into the room and said hi, and then as they were leaving, they say bye, we didn't need to ask him to do it because we already got it. But that didn't always happen, so sometimes we just had to ask them point blank, and that's why you heard me doing that.
Wow.
It always seemed to throw them a little bit, like they didn't quite get why we were asking them to do that. It seemed a little weird, but I don't know. I think if they had thought about it, it would have been pretty obvious. And again, it goes back to this practice that a lot of us used to take these group interviews and present them as if they were one-on-ones.
Right.
And a lot of the Junketeers were doing that.
We're going to get to some more stuff that Matt Levitz did for his questions. I'm going to let you, in future episodes, it's going to be some really interesting turning points within the universe of this show and the press junkets from the 1990s.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the universe. I think that should be a good direction for the show. We're focusing too much on one thing, and I think...
the universe. That's
good. The universe should be our new focus.
So, your thoughts on Quentin Tarantino...
Quentin Tarantino. Well, he's a talented guy. He's made a lot of great movies. People love him. His first film, of course, Reservoir Dogs, really put him on the map and was quite violent. And this one was too. And it is something that we talk to him about. I want to point out he was 30 years old here. He was still a young man.
Yeah, yeah. Compared to us now, compared to us, he's very young.
Yeah, and this was only his second film, and he didn't direct this one. He only wrote it. So he had written and directed Reservoir Dogs, and at the time that we did this interview, and you'll hear he talks about Pulp Fiction, that he has this idea and he's in the middle of writing it.
I had read Pulp Fiction at least 6 to 7 months before the movie came out. I really loved it because I was in a huge Quentin Tarantino kick right after True Romance, which, though I'm not heard on the interviews, I was really, I really loved the movie and Tarantino's writing.
You know, I at the time had not seen Reservoir Dogs. Of course, we saw this one because we're required to before we do the interviews. But this was really my introduction to him, and then my other introduction to him was when he walked into the room, and he definitely left quite an impression, and he probably will for you too. So why don't we dive right in? Quentin Tarantino.
Okay.
Those little intros in your head.
Yeah, I'll just think. Yeah, just ask the questions and I'll think the answers. Maybe brainstorm. You know.
Quentin, you're so hot now. All of a sudden, I mean, not
Yeah.
I mean, suddenly,
That too.
How does it feel to have gone? You know, suddenly the first script, which was sitting around, is being produced, and you're the flavor of, if not the month, the year.
Shucks. Feels good. I mean, just not to give you some standard line, but it's I'm just happy. The only way I can answer that is I'm just happy that people are responding to the work the way they are. I mean, that's what I guess it all comes down to, and which is kind of surprising to me slightly because I mean, it's not everything for everybody kind of stuff. You know, it's very individualistic. You know, so it's kind of cool that it's getting a lot of positive response because I figured it would be like much more down the middle. You know, like it, don't like it.
Why why do you think? Because it is individualist. Is that maybe part of it? I mean,
I would like to think that maybe people are that people are responding to that. People are responding to the fact that it's not that like Dogs and this aren't play it safe movies. They are what they are. Because I personally, I'm not talking. I personally, as a film goer, all right, as a guy who goes to movies all the time, I get sick of constantly seeing committee movies where a zillion people kind of put their yeses and nos in, and just second guessed everything about the movie. All right, the thing about what Tony did with this and what I try to do in Dogs is it just doesn't seem second guessed. It seems like this is what we wanted to do and we went for it. And if you like it, great. And if you don't, you don't. But we're trying to make it work. We're trying to do our best with it, and do it as good as it can be. But we're not trying to round the edges off.
Where did the idea for these characters come from in this story? You know people like this?
Well, some of them. It's like all my characters come from like a wide array of sources. Either it's people I know, or they're friends of mine, or they're people I've met, or people I've just seen on the street or overheard in a Jack in the Box, or they're myself, or they're characters from movies, other movies I've seen, or they're characters from literature that I've read, or they're stories I've heard, anecdotes, or they're just my imagination. All of my characters, like literally, take a little bit from all of those things. My movie characters, like Christopher Walken's character. I don't know a guy like that. All right. I tried to make him human. I tried to, as opposed to treating him like a movie character, I tried to treat him like a real person. He's flamboyant and he's, he's got a lot of panache and he's fun and entertaining to watch. All right, but I didn't try to treat him as like a stock movie character. I tried to, make him, in his flashiness and everything. I tried to, make him, rooted in something.
But that's where you seem to take the violence aspect from as well. That it's
Mhm.
not stock violence.
Yeah,
that
very
a lot
much
of
so.
people won't go and see a violent film with deaths and destruction in them, but they will go and see
Mhm.
dogs and this. You seem to have got a hold on like a realistic violence. Where has that come from?
Well, it's funny because it's like, I mean, to me, that's how violence is. That is real violence. Real violence isn't lowering people from helicopters onto speeding trains, and big bang boom action stuff. All right, like you see like in Lethal Weapon movies or something like that. I'm not criticizing those movies either, because I went and saw Cliffhanger Day It Open. All right, and I got a kick out of it. I was on for a wild ride. I like popcorn violence. I have no problem with violence in movies at all. All right, so I mean, the problem I have is how good or bad it's done. But I like popcorn movies and I like cartoon stuff, and but that's not what I'm about. What I'm about is real life violence, and real life violence comes out of nowhere. You're not expecting it. You don't hear music building up to it. All right, and you're not given the 15 paces before to get prepared for it. It's real violence is you're sitting in a restaurant. And you're laughing, and you're on a date, or you're with a buddy, or your wife, or whoever, and you're having a good time, and all of a sudden somebody gets mad and picks up a fork and sticks it in somebody else's cheek. And that's across the room. And all of a sudden your reality is completely broken, you've been slapped in the face. It's like, oh wow, and now you have to deal with this. Real life violence is crazy like that. It's bizarre, and almost, it's so absurd that it's almost funny. It's not gunshots, shooting, and whatever, it's a fork in the cheek. And it's like, whoa, I'm interested in that. And I'm interested in the moments that happen after that. Okay, what do we do? Do we beat up this guy who did this? Do we call the cops? Do we restrain him? What if he doesn't want to be restrained? Do we ask for our money back because our meal has been ruined? We were planning on going to the movies. Do we go to the movies after that now? Or do we just go home and talk about it? At what point do we stop talking about it? Do we watch Johnny Carson that night? I'm interested in the follow through. Because to me, that's all. It's all like it's interesting, and it has all the mixed emotions that I like.
Does that come from an experience that you've had, where you've been in an area where something like an act of violence?
I think we all have. If you're, just a normal Donnybrook. All right, when it happens, you usually don't see a big. Unless it's happening to you. All right. If you're in a walking on the street or in a bar or anywhere, where a fight in an office building, and a fight breaks out, it's usually like you're sitting there talking, all of a sudden, this commotion breaks out, and it's shocking, and it's surprising, and it's scary. And I think we've all had some incident like that, even if it's just somebody losing their cool, and they don't even have to do anything. They don't have to hit you, and they would rather put their arm in fire rather than hit you, but you've pushed them to a certain edge and they just explode. That's shocking. That's scary. And it's even more crazy when you overhear it. When it's like happens off out of the corner of your eye, your peripheral.
What for you in your life has affected your creativity that has been traumatic?
It's funny. I've never had any tragedies that have come out of the blue and have affected my life. I never had any big deaths that took a toll. All the stuff that have happened to me that would be maybe not so great. They haven't been a shock. It's just been the way things were. I never met my father. I grew up by my mother. All things like that. All right. I was bad in school. And I was known as I was known as the dumb guy in school. All right. I couldn't learn things. It took me forever to learn how to tell time. I didn't learn how to tell time till I was in 6th grade. I didn't learn how to ride a bike until I was in 5th grade. I didn't learn to ride a bike till I was 6th grade. It took me a long time to learn how to swim. All right. Things that everybody else knew how to do, I couldn't do. I knew when it was 12 o'clock, and I knew when it was 12:30. Right? but I couldn't figure it out. And to this day, I still kind of, I'm a digital guy. It's just when the clock gets in that that second half of the clock, I have a little problem, But it's like when I ask, hey, what time is it? And one of those funky watches that are just like dots, like you two skinny things like. Okay. And it was like, can't spell, and I just had a real, I was just real slow with stuff like that, and I didn't have a lot of interest in school anyway, so it didn't help anything. I have no interest in stuff I'm not good at, and so I didn't immediately kick into school.
So when did you notice that you could write?
When I was a kid, it was like I first started writing. I started writing basically because I just liked movies, and I wanted to write stuff for myself. Like the first thing I ever started writing, was I remember the name of it. I maybe wrote 20 pages, which seemed like a Herculean effort to me at the time. I was 16, and I was like, I just seen Smokey and the Bandit. I was like, wow, that was a cool movie. Okay, and I went home and kind of tried to write my version of Smokey and the Bandit. It's called Captain Peach Fuzz and the Anchovy Bandit or something. A guy robs pizza stores, all right, and then I tried to write like an ABC after school special, when I was in class, and it was like I never finished it, but it was like this big fantasy of mine because I had a big crush on Tatum O'Neal, and so I was writing this story about me trying to find Tatum O'Neal, and I changed her name, but it was like, I was not doing any of my schoolwork. I was just sitting there writing this after school special script, during all my classes. The teacher was always getting mad at me, but when I actually started really but I got very discouraged because I could never finish it. I got up to page 10 or 15 to come up with some other idea and just always would lose my train of thought. But it was when I started studying acting, and I would be in acting classes, and I'd go and see a movie and see a scene I would like to do, for class. And I didn't have the script or anything, but I have a pretty good memory. So I would remember the scene. All right, I would remember what was said, and so I'd go home, and to me that is literally 80% of being able to write dialogue is having a good memory. Just remembering when people say things that are interesting, remembering how a conversation flows, and just having the imagination to fill in the blanks. And that's exactly what I did. I would remember the scene, and I go home and I start writing, and anything I couldn't remember, I filled in the blanks. And little by little, I started getting more self-indulgent, okay, with the filling in the blanks thing. And so I would let's do a scene from Marty in school, in class, and so I would remember some scene from Marty, go watch Marty, and then go and write down the scene, from memory. And then I'd take Marty off on these big monologues, and I give it to the person I'm gonna do the scene with. They go, wait, he doesn't talk about this in Marty. I've read Marty. What is this? So that's how I first kind of clicked into stuff like that.
Is it hard for you to write? Is it hard for you to write? I mean,
well, it's funny. No, it's not. But it always seems like it's going to be. It's like hell to sit down in that chair. I always think it's going to be this horrible thing. And when I do, it's actually a lot of fun. I get a kick out of it. But actually, it's for instance, to me, writing is just really organic. I just really everything I learned as an actor, I just apply to writing, and when you're acting, if you're improvising or working on a scene or something like that, it's either happening or it's not, and that's how it is with writing. If I'm writing, at the beginning of the scene, by the end, I'm taking this character and I'm going to the coffee cup that's right over here, and I'm going towards the coffee cup. That's what I want to do, all right? And if all of a sudden the character doesn't go to the coffee cup, all of a sudden makes a left turn, all right, and goes to the Coca-Cola bottle over here, that's fine. That's cool. I let them go, because they're right. I'm wrong. They're right. Now the thing is, eventually we'll get to the coffee cup, and if we don't, the coffee cup was bullshit to begin with. All right, we were never supposed to be at the coffee cup. All right, that was an idea that I forced upon them. That was a lame idea. All right, they know what the real thing is. That's why when people that's why the idea of rewriting stuff is really weird. I mean, not me rewriting it, but other people rewriting it. It's very weird to me because well, that's not what happened. It's a very practical thing. It's like, that's not what happened. This is what happened. That didn't happen. That's a lie. Okay.
It gets to a stage really where the characters write themselves rather than you feel that you do.
Yeah, very, very much, very much. And the thing is, so I get them talking, and it's the same thing even with plot construction. I mean, I'll have a lot of ideas in my head how I want this to fall and this to fall, and some of them end up, and some of them like work like a charm, and other ones they were ideas. They were cool ideas, but in the light of actually making something that's believable and that works, that was all it was an idea, But when you really get it going, then just be surprised how the most appropriate stuff falls into place. I can never ever do like a treatment for a script I'm going to write.
How about Past Midnight, where you did a rewrite?
I did a rewrite. That's different though. That was a dialogue polish. That's different. I just went in there and like they had an existing script, and I just went there and got the punched up the dialogue. That's not really what I do. But on a treatment. That's really, I can't do that. I'm not the kind of writer who can do that because, in that treatment, basically what you do is you take the story from beginning to end, in a few pages. I don't want to know this information. I want to, write it. I mean, I know basically where we're going with the film, but that is forcing me to answer questions that I am not even remotely prepared to answer and don't want to answer. And if you make me answer it, the script probably won't reflect that when I'm finished with it.
So you'd end up doing a 150-page treatment, is what it was.
Yeah, and it's just too boring.
How much of you is?
Or I would write a one-page treatment.
Right.
And then end with ...
You've done a lot of these junkets, and very rarely is the name of the screenwriter even mentioned, much less praise heaped upon him, as we've been sitting here witnessing. What do you think it is about your writing that's really gotten all these other actors who are performing your dialogue so exciting? And do you think the fact that you've directed plays a role? Like maybe writers get the most respect when they've directed something, perhaps?
Well, that's a weird situation because I've never considered myself a writer. I've really always considered myself a filmmaker who writes stuff for himself to do. In this case, I put the script in Tony's hand because I was I wanted Tony to do it. Now I don't know how much at all I'll be writing things for other people to do. All right, be writing stuff for myself to do, except for there's some certain collaborations that I would like to do where a cool director who I like and it'll be cool. Let's get together and do this, and that'll be fun. Because I've got a lot of more ideas in my head than I could ever do myself because it takes a long time to do a movie. And this was just great with Tony. This was just because I'm a big Tony Scott fan. It was so cool to see my world through his eyes. But I think a problem with a lot of screenwriters is. They're kind of pressured into directing. They have a pressure on themselves to direct. They should be directing, is what people's telling them, and it's two completely different jobs. One is not copacetic with the other. All right, it's there's an affinity between the two of them. It's a logical step for a writer to move into being a director. It's a logical step for an editor to step into the shoes of a director. It's a logical step for an actor to step into the shoes of a director. All right, but they're two completely different things. They're two completely different temperaments. And the problem is you have a lot of screenwriters trying to direct that, that's not really what they do. That's just not their thing. And and they I'm not saying the films are bad, but I'm saying that's just not their strength. But but there's kind of a pressure. Well, control your stuff. Go and direct. And but
does it put pressure on you that as a writer at the moment, you're, excuse the phrase, but you're the flavor of the month in Hollywood at the moment, your style, does that put pressure on you to think, well, they may start looking elsewhere, so I have to watch what I do, or what do I look for next?
No. I know what I'm gonna. I know what I'm gonna do for the next 3 or 4 years. I know more or less. I don't know what the order in which I'll do them. As far as the films are concerned, but I pretty much know what I want to do. And hopefully I'll come up with even more ideas in that time. And one of the things actually I don't do is I don't lock myself in. I don't sign myself up to 2 movies in advance. I don't know who I'm gonna be 2.5 years from now. All right, my interest could go completely left of field. So no, I don't. I'm just happy that I'm in a position now where I can make the movies I want to make.
Collaboration with John Woo.
Yeah, well, that's a fun thing, but see, that's different. Okay, because in that case, because I'll be one of the producers on it too. In that case, That's not me writing a script for me and then giving it to another director to do. That's me writing a John Woo movie that I want to see. You know, that's cool. Now, in this case, Tony did a better job than I could have done as a director because I had lost it on this project. You know, I'd written it a long time ago, and I have a shelf life. You know, and, you know, it's like you know, it was like this, True Romance was like an old girlfriend. You know, I mean, a girlfriend that I loved. I loved her, you know, more than life itself. But our time had passed, you know, but I still cared about her. You know, I still wanted her to have a happy life. And Tony loved her. Tony was the much better guy. He was the better beau, you know, and the film reflects that, you know.
How's your relationship with Pulp Fiction right now?
We're in honeymoon. We're in Paris.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, so I gotta hurry up. You know, these things you never know. Yeah.
Spare no steamy details.
Yeah, it's a crime film anthology. It's 3 crime stories, but the same characters intertwine, float in and out of all 3 stories. Like a character who's the star of the first story, you know, could have a completely different. I mean, he's the same character, same person, you know, same character, but it'd be in a completely different role in the second one. I don't mean the same actor. I mean, like, you know, he's in a different function in the second one, or the character who is like maybe the bad guy in the first one. In the third one, he's not so bad. You kind of like see where he's coming from. You know, it's cool. It's like I mean, novelists do that all the time. Larry McMurtry will like write like 6 or 7 books, and you just kind of have these characters kind of float in and out. And, you know, he has a supporting character in this one, and yeah, I like that character. I'll make a whole book about them the next time. You know, or I think like the Glass books. You know, with Salinger. You know, the Glass family with Franny and Zoe and all of them. It's kind of cool. We're kind of following them and everything. So, like, you know, it's kind of hard to do that in a course of time with movies. So I just came up with 3 stories, put it all in one movie, so I could have characters kind of like, you know, intertwining. And it's kind of cool because I think what happens at the end of it is, because I'm setting out to do 3 different stories, but what happens at the end, I think you feel more at the end of the movie, as opposed to you've seen a movie about 3 stories, you've seen a movie about a community of characters.
If you choose again.
This is the last question.
If you choose again in your career to direct, do you think you will get as much?
Well, I will choose. I can tell you. I can definitely tell you.
All right.
Okay.
You will do that. Do you get as much of a joy as writing with a camera as you do with your pen?
Totally. 100%. I love making a film. I mean, let me put it like this. I wouldn't write screenplays if that was all I could do. All right. I think it's a very thankless job, writing. I mean, this is a one. Apparently, I mean, I've had 2 movies. One that I did, and one that somebody shot my script, and they were both completely joyous experiences. But like what you're saying, everybody is like saying, "Wow, this is a rare thing," where they do your script and they don't like. They keep your ideas and everything, and I see the movie and I recognize it. I'm like, yeah, I love it. This is great. What a great job you guys did, you know. And that's totally them doing the great job. I never showed up on the set. I almost feel kind of weird being in the press junket because I wrote it such a long time ago, and that was like my only input. I mean, I talked with Tony a little bit, but not like a big script meeting. I mean, we went out to dinner and talked about that, then talked about other things, you know. And I met Christian. Christian was the only member of the cast I had met before about the film, because Tony saw a similarity between me and Clarence, so he wanted Christian to like meet me, you know. But I never showed up on the set or anything, because like my feeling is, if a writer is having if a writer is writing a film and another director is making it, all right, he should either be really involved. I mean, like he's on the set every day, or he should completely, you know, trust the director and let him go for it. All right, and I totally trusted Tony. I couldn't be involved with it because I was doing all the press on Dogs at the time, so I just let Tony take the ball and run with it. Christian, I was never on the set, was I?
Never there. Never there.
They wanted me to meet Christian. I go, oh fucking hell. Thanks.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but after listening to Quentin Tarantino for 25 minutes, I'm exhausted. Like, I need a nap. That guy is a mile a minute. And I remember thinking that at the time. It was like, oh my God, who is this guy?
You know what, though? A mile a minute, but there's just so many interesting tidbits to come out. I mean, it just feels... It's like eating... We just had pizza. It's just eating all these really great high-caloric...
This is important, folks. You need to know we just had pizza.
This high-caloric, great information just stuffed in our gullet. It's such good stuff from Quentin Tarantino. I just love him as an interview.
I mean, the stuff where he defines realistic violence, like being in a restaurant and somebody picks up a fork and stabs somebody else through the cheek.
Right.
I remember that. Like, even before we pulled this interview and I digitized it and we've listened to it again. I mean, this is a lot of years ago. This is 1993. And I have a very strong memory of that moment when he said that. I just remember thinking to myself, I don't ever want to go to a restaurant with Quentin Tarantino.
I don't remember much of this interview at all, but the one thing I really loved was his decision to go home and write his own version of Smokey and the Bandit.
Right.
The fact that his writing days started by loving film and then trying to do his own riff of movies or pop culture pieces he dug. So it was just overall an engaging experience just to listen to it once again.
Yeah, this was our first time meeting him.
You know, this was not the first time I actually met Christian Slater. It was for Untamed Heart years ago.
Right, Christian, our next interview.
Yeah, and it's really cool that at the time I was a huge Christian Slater fan because I loved Untamed Heart.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a big sap. I love those. You know, I think the movie was called The Baboon Heart originally.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so I really loved that movie. And then just from that, Pump Up the Volume, Heathers and all that stuff, so...
And now, of course, Mr. Robot.
But that's not the important thing. The important thing is, what can we glean without giving too much away with Christian Slater?
Well, I mean, there's a couple of things. He's going to talk a little bit about a comedy that he made with Joe Pesci that was directed by Barry Levinson.
Mm-hmm.
At the time that he talks about it, it was untitled, so he never says what it is. But just so that you know, when we get there, it came out a year later, and it was called Jimmy Hollywood.
A movie I was so excited about.
Yeah?
And that's all I'm going to say about that movie.
And what'd you think when it came out?
And that's all I'm going to say about that movie.
All right.
And another thing.
Enough said.
Enough said. He also mentions another movie that he was about to make called Murder in the First, and that's a movie. Yes, and that's a movie. We're not spoiling too much, but that's a movie that did you see that, Matt?
Oh yeah.
I thought that was a fine film that would co-starred Kevin Bacon and Gary Oldman, which totally these days is ignored.
Yeah, not a lot of people remember that one. I think they probably didn't see it at the time, but I mean, you can get it. It's on DVD. Seek it out.
Yeah, seek it out.
Here we are talking about True Romance and telling you to see something else. I don't know what's wrong with us, but at the time that this junket happened, which again was August 15th, 1993, he was getting ready to host the MTV Awards. So you're going to hear me asking him about that, and that took place a month later on September 2nd, 1993. So at the time, he was still kind of planning it and wasn't really sure everything he was going to do. Towards the end of this interview...
I think that's a spoiler, what you're going to mention.
No, I'm not going to say what it is, okay? But you are going to hear me ask him something incredibly inappropriate sounding and crass. I ask a question about Elvis, and what I say, if you haven't seen the movie and you don't understand the context, it's going to seem like the weirdest question you've ever heard an interviewer ask. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it sounds left field and weird. I want you guys to know that I'm quoting a line from the movie. I'm quoting one of his lines back at him. I'm not being inappropriate. It's a joke, and everyone in the room got it. He got it. If you haven't seen the movie, you're not going to get it. But I'm not that strange of a person. There was a reason for me to say this.
And folks, this is why this episode is an NSFW episode, because of Matt's language.
Yeah, it's me this time. Sorry.
So now we're going to listen to Christian Slater.
Enjoy.
Keep an eye out for those jokes.
Oh, another pun. Keep an eye out for those jokes. Unreal.
So what's this with Captain Kirk and that with William Shatner and the sugar in a couple? It's the second time I think we've had that.
The sugar?
It's so stiff you can stick a spoon.
I think I said in Pump Up the Volume, I said you can stick a fork in me. You know, I'm done. You can stick a fork in me. But as far as
you like your sugar.
I do. I love that sugar. Well, I felt that that's actually that was a moment. You know, I definitely blatantly stole from Mickey Rourke in Diner. You know, because I definitely thought for sure this was a character that, you know, would love that type of personality. You know, and he was such a fan of movies, and I'm sure that was probably, you know, one of the little things that he saw, you know, and it's one of the things I saw in Diner, and that type of character that I liked. So I did. I ripped that off.
One of her turn-ons was Mickey Rourke. So you were,
that's right.
That's, you know, that's where I got it. You know.
Did you in fact meet Quentin to absorb a little ambience for Clarence?
Well, I did meet him for 4 hours, and I said, I don't ever want to be like, no. I did spend about 4 hours with him, and I really did enjoy the experience immensely. But his personality is almost unreal, you know? It's almost unbelievable. In a way, it is almost unbelievable. You know, his behavior, the stories. I mean, I love him. I think he's incredible. I think he's a brilliant writer. And I do feel that, in a way, you know, this movie, according to him even, is sort of semi-autobiographical, where, you know, in his relationships with women and how he feels, or at least in the way he would like to behave. So that is sort of the direction I kind of took it in, and is maybe in the way Quentin would maybe like to be.
Is there a lot of you and Clarence?
Yeah, I think so. Well, at least in the respect of somebody who was strongly influenced by the movies and, you know, by fantasy and imagination and sort of living in your own type of world. That's where, you know, pretty safe to say that's where the similarities pretty much end there.
How about stepping off into the violence? Was that tough to make that leap? Or?
Not really. I really didn't think about it that much. I mean, when I read the script, I said this is definitely a very different type of movie. This is not your average run-of-the-mill film here, and I think that was definitely one of the things that excited me about it. I was thrilled. I mean, I don't like to do average run-of-the-mill films, and sometimes some of the films I have done have been in that type of vein, and I've hated it. You know, I've hated doing that type of thing. So. This movie really fit every possible thing for me perfectly, I thought. It's just that I really felt, you know, very comfortable there.
When you managed to make a character like Clarence sympathetic, even though he shoots and kills people in the movie, he's trying to unload a bunch of cocaine. How do you keep the audience's sympathy with Clarence and Alabama throughout the whole thing? Well, you're not responsible for Alabama.
Right.
Part you are, but how do you keep them there?
Well, that's... I guess that is a tricky thing. It's not really something that I tried to be too aware of. You know, I didn't really think about how I was going to continue to keep the audience on my side. It just wasn't something that was really at the forefront of my mind. I mean, I guess starting off the character in the way that it does, he's very simple and very humble, and it's almost like Alabama is... you know, cast as this perfect leading lady all of a sudden in Clarence's mind, I think. You know, she fits the mold as being the perfect woman for him to actually be the hero that I think that he's always fantasized about being. You know, so throughout the movie, that's really, I think, what the character's doing, is living out all these fantasies and playing all these characters that he's seen before in films, you know, like Travis Bickle and, you know, even, my God, I can't think of his name right now. What's the guy who did Dracula? What? I want to say Drexel. That's why I can't think of his name.
Oldman?
Gary Oldman. Yeah, I'm sorry. I just was totally drawing a blank. It's been a long day.
Sunday, don't worry.
Yeah, it's Sunday, exactly. You know, he even says to me, you know, that he's, you know, that I'm doing like a Charles Bronson type thing. So that's really where this character's mindset was at. You know, he was somebody who was just so influenced by the films that it was beginning to rule everything that he was doing.
How was this film put to you before the script landed in your hands? Because I was like, you read the first dozen pages of this and think that it actually might be a romantic movie.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some clever dialogue and it sort of starts off soft and then just careens off. So were you given any ideas? Story was, or did they just say, "Have a look at this script"?
Have a look at this script was pretty much how it went. I got it. I read it, and I just was. Yeah, I mean, from page one, I was just very curious about these characters. I was very interested. I loved the dialogue. I thought it was just really incredible. I really enjoyed it. The read was very entertaining, you know. So I thought for sure this is going to make, definitely an interesting, different, entertaining type of film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you and Patricia had to connect, and was there really a ding dong involved somewhere along the line on the set, or is
That could be misinterpreted in several ways, couldn't it? But yeah, there was. So we had a ding dong between us, between one of our most tender scenes. There was, yeah. That helped us.
What did that do? I mean, what?
To keep.
That was all kind of new to me. No, that was new to me. I really didn't. I guess humor has worked for me, you know, in that type of situation before, but not actually like an outside prop. You know, that was how that got between us. I have no idea. That was really tricky. I mean, it got to the point where, you know, I really started to get into it. I mean, we were spilling our drinks all over each other. We were really making a mess. You know, we had to keep it on a close-up because our clothes were destroyed. You know, and there we were doing this scene by the airport, and it was supposed to be this quiet, tender little moment, and we have, fudge between us.
And the love scene was that?
The love scene, no ding-dongs there, boy, no.
Were you comfortable doing the nude scene?
I was. I felt, this was like, I don't know, this was, I really didn't care at this point that anybody else was in the room. Somehow, doing this one, I was really able to remove myself completely in a way, and really got into it, you know.
Really, what we don't care about the character of the movie, we really want to know is this roller coaster thing. We hear you were a bit of a glutton for the punishment. Here, that you like that?
I do. I like roller coasters. They're a lot of fun. They are. No, we did it. We did it a few times. Unfortunately, you know, at the beginning of the day, I was lying to everybody, telling them how many times we did it, and Bronson came around and told everybody how many times we actually did do it. So he screwed it up.
So how many times did you actually do it?
We did it about 3 or 4, you know, something like that. But I was running around saying 20, 30. We were exhausted. We were finished. But you know.
I'm sorry. Did you finish the roller coaster tale?
Yeah.
That's something completely different.
Yes. Yeah.
What kind of things are you looking for in movie roles? It looks like you're really going for some diverse things. I mean, Untamed Heart, you were a completely different sort of a character. What are you looking for, and what would you like people to see on screen from you in the future?
Well, I guess I would like people to see maybe another side of me, you know, getting the opportunity to play a character that is not violent, is moralistically in the right lines of intelligence, and, you know, his head is together somewhat. I would really enjoy playing, I think, a character like that. And fortunately, I've found something. I'll probably shoot it in November, which will be. I think it will definitely be somewhat of a departure for me.
What was it like
in a way?
Dennis Hopper?
It's called Murder in the First.
And you'll be playing.
Well, instead of, normally I guess I would be casting like the convict type role, but this time I'll be the lawyer. Which will be hilarious, won't it? You know.
Not much difference there.
Huh? Yeah. What was it?
Working with Dennis Hopper. This guy's a legend. Been around for years.
Yeah, that was pretty much the feeling. I mean, that he's a legend. I've loved him. Been a huge fan of his. I mean, this movie, in all respects, was like a dream come true for me. You know, I mean, I get to play a very interesting, exciting character, and at the same time, it's not like I'm in the background or I'm just the narrator, you know, or I'm the audience's point of view. You know, I'm actually getting the opportunity to, do these scenes with these guys, and so absolutely, no question, it was very exciting. He's an incredibly wonderful, brilliant actor, professional, astounding greatness personified. Truly, he really is. He's wonderful.
Since we're talking about greats, how do you feel when sometimes you're compared to Jack Nicholson?
It was about 10 seconds ago, actually. I got fed up with it. And yeah, it's. I mean, I definitely love him. I think he's wonderful, but I think he and I are slowly but surely. Either he and I are going to get married, or we're going to, immediately move as far apart from each other as possible. So that's about as far as that goes, I guess.
To relate to one of the themes of the movie, how far would you go for love?
Well, I go, I've gone pretty far, I suppose. I mean, not I suppose to the extremes of this character. I mean, he's a very extremely spontaneous. This is almost a character that inevitably should have died at the end of this film because he's living so outrageously and insanely, and this, it would be a little bit easier even to describe the film as true romance, because you could say that what true romance could be is just this totally insane, chaotic thing that can't possibly last, but you really enjoy it while you're there, So, for me, I guess I'm a little bit more. I think things through a little bit more. Not much, but.
Michael was talking, and Rappaport was observing you on the set, talking about how you were so intense in those scenes, and then they'd say, cut. You're not an actor who walks around between scenes carrying your part to the trailer and
no.
muttering in the shadows, are you?
No, muttering in the shadows. No, I mean, yeah, once the camera's cut, but, there is still something, if you're playing this type of character, it does somehow get into your personal life. I mean, I'm able to turn it on and off, I guess, while I'm there, but there's just something, it does haunt your life, while you're making the film. I mean, I have to say, it does. This type of movie sort of did become all-consuming, very similar in the same way that Untamed Heart did, but it was in a very loving fashion. It wasn't as chaotic or insane as this one was.
Your relationships with other people out there?
Yeah, it does. It's weird. I'm trying to change that now, because I've only been really made aware of it recently. So it does. It's weird. You don't ever really think about that.
I'm sorry. What were you talking about? You're being in a role makes you behave differently toward people.
Yeah.
Off camera?
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, Mike. It's true what Michael says. That, when the camera's cut, I can, it's like I can stop being I'm not going to continue to be the rageful lunatic that I might have been in that scene, and start running around chasing people down. But I'm still have the mindset of the character. I think, I'm still in that, particularly with this one. Every time I looked in the mirror, so was that hair, and I just went, oh my God, yeah, definitely this guy.
And someone recently just pointed this out to you that you do.
Well, maybe right after I finished the movie. Yeah.
Now, don't you run the risk of in altering your performance, altering what you do on screen?
Well, we'll see, I guess. It may alter the types of choices that I make. Where some of the choices might not be. I might not choose to play, like I was saying before, the same type of chaotic character, because after, like I said, making Untamed Heart, that was such an enjoyable experience, working with those people, and I really, and it was such a simple character, that, everything in my life seemed to be pretty smooth, at that time. So, we'll see, we'll see.
What sort of character are you playing with the Levinson?
This one is, extremely simple. I don't even know if this guy has a brain, he's really a goner, I think it's not really described in the film, but in my opinion, he must have gone to the Gulf War or something and been hit in the head really hard, something terrible happened to him.
Tell us a little bit about.
Well, he's sort of a vagrant type of guy, he's, really doesn't have much to say, kind of follows Joe Pesci around, is sort of the counterbalance to his character, I would say. He's, Joe Pesci is somebody who is, or his character anyway, is somebody that is just completely, he's an out-of-work actor, really. So he's constantly performing and constantly going crazy and talking about, how crappy Hollywood is and how it screwed him over, and I'm his little friend who sits there and goes, yeah, you know. So, and what ends up happening is the violence of Hollywood finally gets to him. His car radio gets stolen, and we end up going out and videotaping all these criminals in the attempt of stealing other things, and we become sort of vigilante hero guys, you know. We sort of become the guardians of Los Angeles.
Is there a name for the project?
No.
Could you talk a little bit about the MTV Awards? How do you prepare for something like that?
I'm trying not to get too, nervous about it or anything. I'm just trying to keep it very, very simple. You know, I've had a couple meetings with the writers, and we're slowly coming up with ideas of things for me to do. So we'll see how that goes, you know.
It's going to be a little bit different with you doing it, right? Though I mean, it's not going to be constant.
I was actually thinking of imitating Dana Carvey through the whole show. I'm just going to come out and do Garth, and I'll come out and go, you know, and do that type of stuff. And, yeah, or Arsenio, you know, I got some cool glasses to wear. So, I don't know. That's just one of the ideas.
I mean, are they bringing in an extra squad of gag writers or
Not really, no. I mean, I just got a couple guys that I'm sitting down and going through stuff with, coming up with ideas, thinking about what I would like to do, and I certainly would like to do something that I would think that people wouldn't expect of me, you know? I would like to, certainly, hopefully humorous, but if not, then maybe it'll be humorous if I just completely fail. That'd just be unreal. That would just be funny.
Doing something live on television like
Yeah,
this?
well, I did the Saturday Night Live episode, which was also an extremely nerve-wracking experience. But, writers are interesting people. They have interesting personalities, especially, comedic writers. And Quentin Tarantino also has an interesting personality. But writers of comedy, that type of thing, they really think in a whole different way, and comedians, they really feel, I guess, in a way, they really do have to suffer or something, and it's sad to see.
Can you talk a little bit about bonding with Elvis? I mean, nice to know he's still around.
Very nice, very nice. He was there for me all the way.
Are you an Elvis fan?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely, yeah. It's greatness.
If you had to fuck a man.
Oh, out of time.
I don't think Kevin's seen the movie because he just freaked out.
What was it like doing those things with Val?
Oh, it was great. I mean, I thought he nailed it. He's definitely great at playing those dead musicians. He's unreal. He's really incredible. Really incredible.
Any more thought toward? Oh, go on.
No, I was just. Do you have Elvis? I mean, how does your Elvis fascination come out? Do you read the tabloids about whether he's really dead, or just listen to his music?
Yeah, I listen to his music. I'm a big fan of at least the first two movies he did. I'm a fan of Jailhouse Rock, King Creole. I really like those films. I think he really got screwed, and after he went to the Army, I think that's where he was introduced to drugs. That's where his mother died, and that's when the Colonel really began to put him in that category, I think he must have made some sort of deal with the Army. If you let me out now, I'll make this GI Blues film, and, thank you very much, and I'll promote the Army for you. And that's really what confused him, of course, because that was the movie that made the most money, and then he was screwed after that.
Any more thoughts towards stage for you, because you've done that play?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Happening in that direction?
Well, I do a lot of play readings. I'm trying to read all the scripts I can of new writers that are out there and come up with ideas and that type of thing. But
a bit more behind that. I mean, you were behind the scenes producing and stuff.
Yeah. So as far as really getting back up on the stage, well, actually, the last couple of things I did were these play readings. We did them over at the Cannon Theater again, and there were about 300 people there, and that was it was wonderful. My God, it was great. I really enjoyed that. So that definitely did give me the inspiration to want to go do it again. I mean, I guess it's kind of been a dream of mine to do something in the park. You know, Shakespeare in the Park. That would be great. I'd like to do something there. I mean, that's where I saw a lot of theater growing up as a kid, and you know, I would like to do something there.
What's your feeling about the way violence is dealt with in the film?
We almost made it through. A whole half hour without that coming up. Well, I think, you know, in this movie, with Quentin's writing, it's certainly in a majority of the scenes, it's taken to such an extreme level that it's almost humorous, you know, I think. But as far as, you know, violence goes in movies and in television, I mean, violence is a part of life, you know. I don't think, you know, we need to really be sheltered from it, or it needs to be kept a secret from us. I think it's really up to parents to regulate, you know, what their children see if they're having a problem with that. It's up to the government really to take care of the families so they can have the time to, you know, take care of their kids and the money. So as far as, you know, because I know there's all these issues coming up.
Does acting it out as you have in some of these films change your perception of it? Or?
Acting it out? No, I mean, I don't really think of violence as it hasn't. I mean, I still am able to keep it in my mind. I may act violence. I may, you know, I mean, a couple nights ago I was doing a scene and I was holding the guy's hand and the gun was at my head and I'm wrestling with the guy, and the next day I get up and go do interviews and go have lunch, you know. It's just the weirdest thing. But yeah, I can pretty much keep a pretty clear point of view about that's the movies, and I know that reality is not that way, you know.
What do you think about the mixing of the humor and the violence? Do you think it makes the violence maybe even more unsettling for an audience, or maybe more palatable or enjoyable? I mean, a couple of these scenes were laughing right before the big shootings occurred.
Yeah. I guess that's really up to the audience to decide, but I think the way it's handled in this movie, just in my opinion, it's humorous. I mean, no question it's a violent movie, and I'm sure there will be some people that do have problems with that. And but you know, I guess that's what makes, in a way, the world go round. You know, the more controversy we have, I mean, the more writings we have, like Quentin Tarantino, the more people that can inspire us to ask questions. You know, about violence, about anything really. Is really what keeps everybody motivated, you know, in this whole game of life.
Speaking of controversy, what about the Sicilian question?
The Sicilian question? Oh, you mean how it's dealt with in the movie? And I haven't really thought about that one. Yeah, I don't know. I hope we don't get in trouble, though.
Okay, Christian Slater and Matt Levitt's the cursorer. You're a cursorer.
Is that a word?
I've just made it up. You're a cursorer.
To me, that sounds like someone who uses a cursor on the computer. And I freely admit to that. I do. I use cursors all the time.
Would you rather F Elvis too, or what would you do? What would?
If I had to have sex with a man, would it be Elvis? Sure.
Oh, very good, sir.
Although not Elvis today when he's dead.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Young Elvis.
Yes, not the rotting, decomposing body of Elvis.
That's an image I did not want. But no, very good. That was a great question, Matt. Everyone.
Yeah.
What other moments are takeaways from you from the whole thing?
I didn't write anything down.
I did.
Well, then let's hear yours.
I love this. There's a journalist who asked Christian Slater, does it ever get old when people say you sound like Jack Nicholson? And then he said, yeah, got old or something. Got old 10 seconds ago.
That was a good line.
That was a very good line. And that was a very good Christian Slater interview.
And you know what? Here we are all these years later. My guess is he still gets asked that.
Horrible.
Yep.
People, do your homework. Stop asking Christian Slater the Jack Nicholson question. Heathers was years ago. He's done much more interesting work since then.
Yep.
Heathers is a great movie, though. Respect to that. So...
It's a good musical, too.
Well, I want to before we get to our close, I want to also mention that when it was released, True Romance was not an astounding box office hit.
Right.
And it's one of those films, I'm glad we covered it for this episode. It's a film that has grown in cult status and stature over the years.
Yeah, I would agree with that. not in small part to the fact that it was written by Quentin Tarantino.
Right, and the cast, and the writing, so everything, well,
I mean, people just love his films so much. So if they're huge fans of his later films, then they want to go back and see his old ones, and that's where this one keeps coming back.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know how you felt about Pulp or Reservoir. This is my favorite out of those early Tarantino films, even though he didn't direct it writing-wise. I thought this was a masterpiece in writing. So
fair enough.
Fair enough. With that, what are we? What's down the road for us?
That wraps up our True Romance episodes.
Yes.
Our next episode is going to be another two-parter. So once again, we had too many interviews to fit into one show, and rather than throwing out a lot of stuff, we just split it in two. And that is going to be The Little Mermaid, the Disney animated film. So look out for that.
Big look out, because these are some really, really great interviews.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Buddy Hackett is quite memorable for reasons other than just the quality of the interview. Something very memorable happened during that interview, and we will tell you about that. That'll be in part 2. So look out for that soon. And in the meantime, we hope that you'll check out our webpage, which is mattandgregpodcast.com, and also that you'll join us on our Facebook page, facebook.com/mattandgreg. We love to hear from you guys. We love the feedback. So join us over there.
Well, and we'll see you guys next episode. I don't know if that's a way to end it, but that's how we're going to end it.
It is a way to end it. You know what's another way to end it?
How? What?
With this.
We now return you to your regularly scheduled life.